The 5 survival crops everyone ignores and why you'll regret not planting them today. When the grocery stores run out of food for the 3rd week in a row, when the seed companies have nothing left to sell, when your neighbors are fighting over the last bag of potatoes at the farmer's market, you'll be standing in your apartment, harvesting fresh food like nothing ever happened. That's not fantasy. That's what happens when you plant the right crops now before everyone else figures it out. Most people think survival gardening means potatoes, beans, and tomatoes. They're not wrong. Those crops work. But they're also labor-intensive, require perfect timing, and if you miss the planting window or lose your harvest, you're starting over from zero. The crops I'm about to show you are different. They come back every year without replanting. They tolerate neglect. They produce massive yields in terrible conditions. And here's the game changer. Every single one can be grown in an apartment, on a balcony, or even on a windowsill. No backyard needed, no farm, no excuses. If you're still thinking, I'll start gardening when things get bad, you've already lost. The time to build food security is now, while seeds are available, while you have time to learn, while your neighbors are still scrolling instead of planting. Let's get into the 5 crops that separate survivors from victims. Rhubarb, the unkillable perennial that feeds you for 20 years. Rhubarb doesn't care if you forget about it. It doesn't need your attention. It doesn't require perfect soil or constant watering. Plant it once, and it will outlive most of the vegetables in your garden and possibly outlive you. Why rhubarb is a survival powerhouse. True perennial. One planting gives you 10-20 years of harvest. Emerges in early spring. When nothing else is ready, rhubarb is already producing. Survives extreme cold, drought, and neglect. It thrives on abandonment. Massive yields. One plant produces kilos of edible stalks every season. Loaded with vitamin K, antioxidants, and fiber, critical nutrients when fresh food is scarce. In a crisis, rhubarb is your first sign of hope. When you're still eating stored beans and stale crackers, rhubarb pushes through frozen soil like a crimson fist, reminding you that life continues. How to grow it. Plant crowns in early spring or fall. Give them sun, decent drainage, and a bit of compost. After the first year, they become virtually indestructible. You can ignore them for months and they'll still produce. Seed saving. You don't need seeds. Rhubarb propagates through division. Every 4 or 5 years, dig up the crown, split it with a sharp knife, and replant. 1 plant becomes 5. 5 becomes 25. It's exponential food security. Apartment version. Yes, rhubarb grows in containers. Use a 20-30 liter pot, deep soil, and a sunny balcony or bright window. It won't get as massive as ground-planted rhubarb, but it will still feed you for years. Once established, it's practically immortal. Radishes, the 30-day emergency food supply. Radishes are the fastest edible crop on Earth. While your tomatoes are still germinating, radishes have already fed you breakfast. Why radishes are critical for survival. 25-35 days from seed to harvest, the fastest fresh food you can grow. Grow in terrible soil. They don't need perfection, just moisture and light. Cold tolerant. Plant them early spring or late fall when nothing else survives. Perfect for succession planting. Plant every 2 weeks for continuous harvest. Leaves are edible, packed with vitamins when greens are scarce. Radishes aren't calorie-dense like potatoes, but they're essential for vitamin C, iron, and fresh nutrition when your diet becomes monotonous survival rations. They also break up compacted soil, making them a companion crop that improves everything around them. Seed saving. Let a few radishes bolt. They produce long seed pods that dry on the plant. 1 radish produces hundreds of seeds. Collect, dry, store. You're now seed independent. Apartment version. Radishes are one of the best indoor crops ever. Shallow containers, even recycled food containers work. A sunny window or basic grow light. Water every few days. You can grow radishes year-round indoors. No balcony, no outdoor space, no problem. When everyone else is panicking about food shortages, you're harvesting radishes every month. Jerusalem artichokes, sunchokes, the underground calorie factory that never stops producing. If potatoes are the calorie king, Jerusalem artichokes are the calorie empire, a self-renewing food source that produces massive yields with almost zero effort. Why sunchokes are a survival beast. One tuber planted 1.5-10 kilo of food harvested, exponential calorie production. Survives drought, shade, poor soil, and total neglect. It thrives on abandonment. Spreads aggressively. Once you plant it, it's yours forever. Control it, or it takes over. Stores naturally in the ground all winter. The soil becomes your refrigerator. Rich in inulin, a prebiotic fiber that supports gut health when sanitation and medical care decline. This is the crop you plant when you want permanent food security without electricity, root cellars, or annual replanting. It's the ultimate set-it-and-forget-it survival crop. The tubers taste like a cross between a potato and a water chestnut, nutty, slightly sweet. Roast them, mash them, slice them raw into salads, or ferment them. They're versatile, nutritious, and virtually indestructible. Seed saving. You don't save seeds, you save tubers. Leave some in the ground and the patch regenerates automatically. One tuber becomes 100. It's biological compound interest. Apartment version. Yes, sunchokes grow in containers, but use a deep, large pot, 40-60 liters, because they produce tall stalks and many tubers. Full sun or bright light. Rich soil with good drainage. Regular watering during growth. They won't spread uncontrollably in a pot, which is actually an advantage. You get all the food production without the invasive takeover. Milkweed, Asclepias. The forgotten survival plant that does everything. Milkweed is famous for feeding monarch butterflies, but historically, it was also a human survival food, fiber source, and medicinal plant. Most people have no idea it's edible, which means most people won't compete with you for it. Why milkweed belongs in every survival plan. Perennial, plant once, harvest forever. Young shoots, flower buds, and immature pods are edible when properly cooked. Produces massive biomass for compost, mulch, or livestock feed. Attracts pollinators, boosting yields across your entire garden. Drought-tolerant and thrives in poor soil. It grows where other crops fail. Milkweed is a multi-purpose survival asset. Food, fiber, pollinator magnet, soil builder, and even potential cordage material from the dried stalks. Edibility note. Milkweed must be cooked properly. Young shoots and buds are boiled in fresh water. Some people change the water once to reduce bitterness. Indigenous communities across North America used milkweed as a food source for centuries. It's not a staple crop, but it's a valuable supplemental food when variety is scarce. Seed saving. Milkweed produces large pods filled with seeds attached to silky fibers. Let the pods dry on the plant, then collect the seeds. Each pod contains dozens of seeds. Store them dry and they'll remain viable for years. Apartment version. Milkweed grows surprisingly well in containers. 10-15 liter pot minimum. Full sun or very bright light. Minimal watering once established. It also attracts beneficial insects even on a balcony, improving pollination for other crops. Plus, it's beautiful. Most people won't even realize it's a survival crop. Strawberries, the perennial sugar source that saves your sanity. In a survival situation, calories keep you alive, but morale keeps you sane. Strawberries provide both. Why strawberries are a survival essential. Perennial, plant once, harvest for 3-5-1 years. Spread through runners, giving you endless free plants. Produce early in the season, fresh fruit when everything else is still growing. Rich in vitamin C, antioxidants, and natural sugars, critical for immune health and energy. Grow in almost any container, one of the most space-efficient fruits. Strawberries are the sweet relief in a diet dominated by beans, grains, and root vegetables. They're also incredibly easy to preserve. Dehydrate them, freeze them, or make jam. They store well and provide variety when monotony becomes dangerous. Seed saving. You can save seeds from dried berries, but the easiest and most reliable method is propagating runners. Each runner becomes a new plant. One strawberry plant becomes 10 within a year. 10 becomes 50. You get the idea. Apartment version. Strawberries are the apartment survival crop. Hanging baskets, vertical towers, window boxes, balcony railings, indoor grow lights. They thrive in small spaces, produce for years, and require minimal effort. If you can only grow one crop in your apartment, make it strawberries. How to build a survival garden in an apartment, even if you have zero outdoor space. Here's the truth most survival guides won't tell you. Not everyone has land, but everyone can grow food. If you live in an apartment, you can still build a system that produces calories, vitamins, and fresh food year-round. Here's the blueprint. Stop thinking horizontally. Start thinking vertically. Shelves, hanging planters, wall racks, and vertical towers multiply your growing area by 5-10x. Strawberries, radishes, herbs, and even rhubarb can grow vertically. A 2-meter wall can produce as much food as a 10-square-meter garden bed. Small containers, 5-10 liters, radishes, strawberries, herbs. Medium containers, 15-25 liters, milkweed, beans, peas. Large containers, 40-60 liters, rhubarb, Jerusalem artichokes. If you only have room for one large container, choose sunchokes. They give the highest calorie return per square meter. A simple LED grow light, 20-40 watts, turns any dark corner into a micro farm. Radishes, strawberries, lettuce, and even peas thrive under artificial light. You don't need expensive setups. Basic full-spectrum LEDs work perfectly. The investment pays for itself in one season. If you have a balcony, you have a farm. Use railing planters, vertical towers, stackable pots, hanging baskets. This setup can produce 10-20 kilo of food per year from a 2-meter balcony. That's not a hobby, that's food security. Perennials are the backbone of an apartment survival garden because they don't need replanting. Strawberries, rhubarb, milkweed, herbs, rosemary, thyme, oregano. Jerusalem artichokes in containers. Once established, they produce for years. Your effort goes into planting once, not replanting every spring. A perfect apartment system includes fast crops, radishes, lettuce, microgreens, 30-45 days. Medium crops, strawberries, peas, beans, 60-90 days. Slow crops, rhubarb, sunchokes, perennial production. This gives you food every month of the year, not just during harvest season. Save seeds, even indoors. Radishes, milkweed, strawberries, peas, and beans all produce seeds indoors. Saving seeds means independence. You're not dependent on seed companies. Resilience. If supply chains collapse, you're still growing. Zero cost. Free seeds forever. Long-term security, generational food sovereignty. Even a tiny apartment can become a self-renewing food system. You're not just growing food, you're growing independence. This isn't about gardening. It's about survival sovereignty, the ability to feed yourself no matter what happens outside your door. Rhubarb gives you decades of reliable harvests. Radishes give you food in 30 days flat. Sunchokes give you massive calories with zero effort. Milkweed gives you perennial resilience and pollinator support. Strawberries give you sweetness, vitamins, and morale. And the best part? You can grow all of them whether you have a backyard, a balcony, or a single sunny window. The world is changing. Food systems are fragile. Seed supplies are uncertain. But a plant in a pot is a seed of independence, and independence is the ultimate survival tool. If you're reading this, you already know what's coming. The question isn't whether you should start. The question is whether you'll start today or wait until it's too late. Start planting now, because the people who prepare early are the ones who thrive later.